Amid the inferno sweeping through Los Angeles, everyone believed it was merely nature's wrath. But Barron Trump, the 18-year-old, discovered a terrifying truth lurking behind the disaster. What he saw wasn't random. The wildfires appeared to follow an eerie, calculated trajectory. Could this be a conspiracy people didn't want you to know? What's really happening within those devastating flames? The story begins. In early January 2025, Los Angeles was thrust into turmoil as fierce fires engulfed vast stretches of land. Fueled by powerful Santa Ana winds, the flames destroyed thousands of homes, claimed at least 13 lives, and forced over 180,000 residents to flee. Amid this chaos, the Trump family arrived in California for a series of events. Barron Trump, now 18 and a freshman at New York University, was accompanying his parents, while his father, President Donald Trump, attended a fundraising event in Los Angeles. Barron found time to explore the city. As the fires worsened, the air in the city thickened with smoke, casting an eerie orange hue across the sky. Barron, intrigued by the unfolding disaster, began to closely monitor the news reports and social media updates. He noted the widespread devastation in areas like Pacific Palisades, where multi-million-dollar homes had been destroyed, and the historic Will Rogers Ranch, which was engulfed by flames. But something else caught his attention: a strange pattern in the locations where the fires ignited. While most people focused on the scale of the disaster, Barron noticed that the fire points seemed to follow a deliberate path, as if they were tracing a specific trajectory. This observation sparked his curiosity, driving him to dig deeper into the available data and reports. He began mapping the fire sites using publicly available information from media outlets and fire department reports. The more he mapped, the clearer the pattern became. The fires appeared to have started in a sequence that seemed far from random, not a natural occurrence. Barron shared his findings with his parents. Despite their busy schedules, they encouraged him to pursue his curiosity, though they reminded him to be cautious. Undeterred, Barron reached out to local authorities and fire experts, hoping to share his observations and learn more. However, his inquiries were met with skepticism. The officials, exhausted from dealing with the crisis, had no time to entertain theories from an 18-year-old, no matter his background. Some dismissed his observations as coincidence, while others assured him that experts were managing the situation. Despite being rebuffed, Barron's belief grew more steadfast. He couldn't shake the feeling that there was a deliberate force behind the disaster. Determined to uncover the truth, Barron continued his investigation, unaware that he was stepping into a labyrinth of secrets that many were willing to do anything to conceal. The devastation caused by the fires was unlike anything Los Angeles had seen in years. Entire neighborhoods were reduced to ashes, and the thick smoke turned daylight into a grim fog, like the apocalypse. Shelters were filled with displaced families, recounting their harrowing escapes from the flames that swept through their homes. In areas like Malibu and Calabasas, the once opulent mansions, symbols of wealth, were now nothing more than piles of rubble and ash. The streets were eerily quiet, punctuated only by the sounds of fire trucks and helicopters dousing the flames. Even wildlife suffered heavy losses, with thousands of acres of their habitats reduced to cinders, forcing them to flee to suburban gardens in search of refuge. For the people, the situation became desperate. The fires, fueled by winds over 60 miles per hour, spread faster than firefighters could control. The firemen, already exhausted from previous battles, continued to work tirelessly. The image of them collapsing from exhaustion became a symbol of the humanitarian cost behind the heroic efforts to contain the blazes. Meanwhile, Barron was deeply affected by the stories he heard during a visit to an evacuation center in Santa Monica. He overheard a mother sobbing as she recounted how she had only minutes to grab her child and flee her home before the fire consumed it. A man showed Barron a photo of his prized car collection, now reduced to a heap of charred metal. But what struck Barron the most was a story from a firefighter about the strange timing and locations of the fires. "It's as if they have a mind of their own," the man said, shaking his head. "I've been doing this job for 25 years, and I've never seen anything like this. Some fires seem to just appear out of nowhere, in places no one expects." These words only strengthened Barron's belief that there was something hidden behind the wildfires that had not yet been uncovered. He couldn't help but recall the strange pattern of ignition points he had discovered earlier. Determined to dig deeper, Barron spent hours scouring online forums and social media, where he found posts from others who had noticed the same unusual fire patterns. Some speculated the fires were set deliberately, while others offered darker theories, including business sabotage and attempts to seize land. One particular post caught Barron's attention. A user had uploaded drone footage from an area outside Pasadena, showing a strange light, as if from an object falling from the sky, just before the fire ignited. Though the video was blurry, it was enough to make Barron's heart race. He immediately saved it, wondering if this could be the evidence he needed to validate the growing suspicions in his mind. The deeper he explored, the more dangerous the questions became, leading him into a labyrinth with no clear exit. As night fell over Los Angeles, Barron sat in his hotel room, his laptop glowing faintly in the dim light. His desk was cluttered with hasty notes, screenshots from social media posts, and a rough map of the fire's spread. He stared at the drone footage, rewinding frame by frame. The object in the video, a small, bright streak of light, appeared for only a moment before vanishing into the bushes, immediately followed by the eruption of flames. The feeling was eerie. While many wildfires could be attributed to lightning, faulty power lines, or human carelessness, this video hinted at something more unusual. Barron cross-referenced the video with news reports and updates from the fire department, marking ignition points on his map. Each dot aligned with disturbing precision, creating a path that stretched from rural areas to dense urban neighborhoods. Barron's curiosity gradually morphed into obsession. He kept digging through public records, looking into recent land transactions in areas affected by the fires. A pattern emerged. Properties in high-risk areas had been quietly acquired by several companies months before the fires occurred. Barron wrote down the names of the companies, most of which were shell corporations with little information available online. The deeper he dug, the more questions arose. One company in particular stood out: Ridgeview Enterprises. This name appeared multiple times in recent transactions involving properties that had been destroyed by the fires. What struck Barron as odd was the inflated prices for these properties, an unusual move for areas prone to natural disasters. Feeling the weight of his discoveries, Barron called his sister Ivanka to share what he had uncovered. "This doesn't add up," Barron explained. "Why would anyone pay so much for land in fire-prone areas unless they know something we don't?" Ivanka listened patiently but remained cautious. "Barron, this sounds serious, but you need to be careful. If you're right, this could involve powerful people who won't want their actions exposed." Her warning only intensified Barron's resolve. The next day, Barron drove to one of the affected areas, hoping to witness the aftermath firsthand. What he found left him stunned. Amidst the charred remnants of homes and businesses, there were odd signs. In one neighborhood, a line of trees stood motionless while the surrounding houses had been reduced to ash. In another, a concrete wall was scorched on one side, yet untouched on the other. Barron snapped pictures, documenting every detail meticulously, but as he moved through the debris, he couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. A black SUV sat at the end of the street, its dark tinted windows hiding the inside. He was certain it wasn't a rescue team's vehicle. Despite the unease, Barron continued his documentation, determined not to let fear stop him. He uploaded his findings to a secure cloud drive, making sure to back everything up. That evening, Barron shared his discoveries on a private forum, hoping to connect with others who might have noticed similar irregularities. Responses began flooding in almost immediately. Some thanked him for bringing the issue to light, while others shared similar incidents from other parts of California. However, one response stood out above the rest: a cryptic message: "You're closer to the truth than you think. Be careful who you trust." Barron had no idea that his investigation was beginning to draw attention from people who were anything but friendly. The cryptic message haunted Barron as he sat alone in the dark room. The initial excitement had given way to an unsettling awareness of the danger he was facing. He went over his findings again, paying close attention to every piece of evidence that pointed to something deliberate, something staged, but by whom and why? These questions hung in the air, like shadows he couldn't escape. The next morning, Barron decided to take the investigation offline, fearing his digital trail might have been compromised. The only tools he carried were a burner phone and a notebook, and he set off to interview residents in the hardest-hit areas. He began in Agora Hills, where many homes had been destroyed, families evacuated, and were still living in makeshift shelters, relying on volunteer supplies, waiting for news about the fate of their properties. Barron approached an elderly man named Logan, sitting in a folding chair outside the community center. Logan had lived in the area for decades and had witnessed numerous wildfires. "This one's different," Logan said, his voice raspy from inhaling smoke for days. "Fires don't burn like this. They're chaotic, sure, but this one, it's like a straight line." When Barron inquired about Ridgeview Enterprises, Logan's demeanor shifted. "Yeah, I've heard of them," he said cautiously. "They've been prowling around here for months, buying up land from all directions." At first, nobody paid much attention until the fire started. Logan's words sent a chill through Barron. He thanked the man and moved on, but similar stories began to surface as he spoke with more residents. Some recalled seeing strange activity in the days leading up to the fires, drones flying low, unmarked utility trucks, and even a few loud explosions at odd hours during the night. Barron's next stop was Thousand Oaks, where he met a woman named Sarah, who had been evacuated from her family's farm. She showed him a series of photos on her phone, including one that immediately caught Barron's attention, a scorched patch of land with perfectly circular burn marks, as if something had exploded at multiple points simultaneously. Sarah hesitated before handing Barron another picture. It was blurry, but unmistakably a drone hovering over her land, carrying what appeared to be a small container beneath it. "I tried reporting it," she said, "but they told me they were overwhelmed and couldn't investigate. I don't think they care." Barron felt a heaviness settle in his gut as he connected the dots. Could drones have been used to start the fires? The thought seemed far-fetched, but not impossible, especially when considering the precision of the fire locations. He decided to dig deeper into Ridgeview Enterprises, starting with their leadership. That evening, Barron went to the Los Angeles Public Library downtown, where he accessed company records and news articles. The CEO of Ridgeview Enterprises was a man named Ryan Anderson, a relatively obscure figure with connections to several energy and real estate companies. Barron uncovered lawsuits against Grayson for environmental violations, including illegal oil drilling and soil contamination. One article described Grayson as an advocate for land redevelopment projects in fire-prone areas, often pushing for regulatory rollbacks to speed up construction after fires. The more Barron investigated, the clearer the picture became. These fires weren't just disasters, they were opportunities. If someone could clear a large tract of land quickly, they could rebuild and reap massive profits. But as Barron continued to gather information, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. The black SUV had appeared again that morning, parked near the entrance of the library when he arrived, and now, as he left with a stack of documents, it was parked at a distance. He saw the black SUV again, slowly following him as he walked back to his car. The closer Barron got to the truth, the more dangerous his mission became. Barron's heart pounded as he drove through the dim streets of Los Angeles. The black SUV remained in his rearview mirror, its headlights a grim warning. He had to think quickly, taking sharp turns, weaving through side streets and alleys. Finally, he parked in a crowded lot and hid behind a concrete pillar, watching as the SUV cruised by without stopping. He exhaled in relief, but the tension remained. Barron gripped the folder he'd just obtained from the library. The evidence was truly shocking, but he didn't know what to do next. Who could he trust with this information? The authorities had rejected him, and sharing it online would only put him in more danger. Barron decided to contact someone with more resources, a journalist. He remembered Rachel Scott, an investigative reporter known for exposing corruption and corporate wrongdoing. After a quick search, he found her contact details and sent her an encrypted email, summarizing what he had uncovered. The next day, Rachel agreed to meet Barron at a cafe in Pasadena. She listened intently as he laid out the series of wildfires, the suspicious land purchases, and the possible involvement of Ridgeview Enterprises. "This is big," she said, her voice. "If what you're saying is true, this could involve some powerful people." Rachel promised to help Barron verify his findings and use her connections to dig deeper into Ridgeview Enterprises' activities. However, she also warned, stories like this can make enemies. "Be careful, Barron. You're going too far." Their conversation was interrupted by a loud noise from outside. Barron turned to look and saw a car speeding away, tires screeching as it made a sharp turn. Rachel's face went pale. "This is no coincidence," she said. "We need to go now." Barron and Rachel quickly left the cafe, walking briskly but trying to stay calm. When they reached an alley a few blocks away, Rachel stopped, scanning the surroundings before speaking. "We need to clear this up before someone tries to silence you," she whispered, her gaze sharp but filled with concern. "We?" Barron asked, his voice skeptical but tinged with gratitude. Rachel nodded. "I've been in situations like this before. I don't always win, but I don't quit. If we don't do it, who will?" Barron took a deep breath, weighing her words. "I don't want anyone else to get hurt because of this." "Danger's already here," Rachel responded, her eyes steely. "But I'm not doing this alone. I've got a team of colleagues I trust. We can handle the investigation and protect your identity." Barron was silent for a moment before nodding. "All right, I trust you. But we have to move fast before they erase all the evidence." Rachel gave him a tight smile, a blend of tension and resolve. "Then let's get started, Barron. We don't have time to be scared." In the days that followed, Rachel and Barron worked tirelessly to uncover more evidence. Rachel used her sources to obtain internal emails from Ridgeview Enterprises, revealing plans to lobby for emergency redevelopment permits in the fire-affected areas. One email, in particular, caught their attention. It was from Ryan Anderson to a colleague, discussing ways to expedite the process and ensure the land was cleared. What they uncovered was clear. Someone was deliberately setting the fires to push people out and create opportunities for redevelopment projects. The boldness of the plan made Barron and Rachel both furious and determined to expose the truth. However, their efforts didn't go unnoticed. One evening, when Barron returned to his hotel, he stood frozen in the middle of his chaotic room. A sense of fear creeping into his chest. The yellow light from the ceiling illuminated the scattered papers, each piece of the investigation now a jumbled mess. The drawer was wide open, and his laptop was gone. On the table was a single note, a chilling message: "Don't dig any deeper." Barron immediately called Rachel. "They've been here," he said, his voice trembling. "My laptop's gone, and they left a warning." She advised him to stay with her until they decided what to do next. "They just want to scare you," she said. "But this only proves we've uncovered something." Despite the threats, they pressed on. Rachel began drafting a groundbreaking exposé, connecting all the evidence they had gathered. This story would reveal the full extent of Ridgeview Enterprises' corruption and its deliberate destruction of communities for profit. But as the deadline for publication approached, Barron couldn't shake the feeling that time was slipping away too quickly. He knew that exposing the truth would come at a cost, and he wasn't sure if he was ready to pay that price. On the day Rachel's article was published, the atmosphere was heavy, as though signaling something ominous was about to unfold. Barron woke up to an alert on his phone, the one he used to communicate with her. His encrypted email account had been breached. Someone had gained access to the drafts they were working on together. Panic set in as he tried calling Rachel, only to be met with her voicemail. Unease gripped him as he hastily gathered his things and rushed to her apartment. When Barron arrived, he found Rachel's door slightly ajar. Inside, her workspace was in disarray. The walls that had once been filled with notes and printouts about Ridgeview Enterprises were now bare. Her laptop, camera, and notebook were gone. On the desk, only a single sticky note remained, bearing bold, chilling words: "You were warned." Barron's heart pounded in his chest as he scanned the empty room. Rachel had vanished, and most of the evidence had disappeared with her. All that remained was what had been stored on Barron's encrypted cloud, but he knew it wouldn't stay safe for long. Without hesitation, he left the apartment, clutching the folder that he always kept with him. Desperation drove him to contact his father. Though he had always avoided involving his family in his troubles, the situation had spiraled beyond his control, and he could no longer handle it alone. "Dad, I need help." Barron's voice trembled over the phone. "This is bigger than I thought." Donald Trump, known for his connections and influence, listened intently as Barron explained the gravity of what he had uncovered. "You've got guts, kid," his father finally said. "But you're right, this is dangerous. I'll make a few calls, but you need to be careful. And Barron, don't trust anyone." Later that same day, Barron received an encrypted message from an unknown sender. The message contained an attachment titled, "Proof of Operation Phoenix." Inside was a blood-stained record of the plans for orchestrating fires, with diagrams for drones and emails from top executives at Ridgeview Enterprises discussing bribes to complicit officials. The message ended with a cold, threatening note. "Spread this and you'll never see daylight again." Barron knew he couldn't keep this to himself. He forwarded the file to Rachel's editor at the investigative media outlet she worked for, along with the story they had been drafting before her disappearance. Within hours, the story exploded on major news networks. The exposé revealed the calculated destruction of an entire community for profit, implicating Ridgeview Enterprises and several high-ranking officials in California. The public reaction was overwhelming. Protests erupted outside Ridgeview Enterprises headquarters, demanding justice for the families who had lost their homes to the fires. Federal agencies began investigating, and Ryan Anderson's face became a symbol of greed and corruption. But the consequences were not without a price. Barron's life was upended as he became the target of media scrutiny. His father's advisors warned him to stay out of the spotlight, but Barron was resolute in his determination to stand firm. "The public needs to know the truth," he said in a rare public appearance. Despite facing threats and difficulties, Barron's actions led to sweeping reforms in the management of land purchases in fire-prone areas. Ridgeview Enterprises' assets were frozen, and several company executives were indicted. However, Ryan Anderson remained on the run, believed to have fled the country to avoid capture. While justice was slowly being served, Barron couldn't shake the warning he had received. The shadow of those behind the operation still loomed, a reminder that exposing the truth came at a very steep cost. In the weeks following the scandal's revelation, the world watched as the story unfolded. News outlets continuously updated the investigation into Ridgeview Enterprises, the arrests of complicit officials, and the growing movement for wildfire prevention and response reform. For the first time, the public began to see wildfires not as natural, uncontrollable disasters, but as a ruthless, calculated act driven by greed. Barron, on the other hand, stepped back from the limelight. The media's initial attention made his name widely known, but it also brought threats and harassment. For his safety, his family arranged for him to leave Los Angeles and stay in a safer location until things calmed down. Despite appreciating the support from his family, Barron still carried the heavy burden of what he had uncovered. He spent long days reflecting on the families who had lost their homes in the fires, the firefighters who risked their lives to save others, and the communities forever torn apart. Yet, amidst the pain, a flicker of hope began to emerge. Barron saw firsthand how ordinary people could make a difference, even when everything seemed to be working against them. One afternoon, he received an email from a woman he had met at the temporary shelter. Her family's home had been destroyed in the fire, but thanks to the public outrage and donations spurred by the investigative report, they were able to rebuild their home. "Thank you for what you've done," the email read. "You gave us hope when we thought we had nothing left." That message solidified Barron's belief in the power of truth. Though his journey was fraught with danger, it also showed him the importance of standing up for what is right, no matter the cost. He realized that his actions weren't merely driven by outrage but sparked profound change. In the months that followed, new laws were passed to closely regulate land transactions in high-risk fire zones, ensuring greater accountability and transparency. A task force was also created to investigate the use of drones and technology in criminal activities. While these measures couldn't undo the damage caused, they were a crucial step in preventing further tragedies. The experience left a lasting impression on Barron. He decided to channel his energy into social causes, using his voice to advocate for environmental justice and corporate accountability. Although his life had been forever changed by the events surrounding the wildfire, he felt he had found a renewed sense of purpose. But Barron knew this was not a battle he could fight alone. "The truth matters," he said in an interview months later, "and it is our responsibility to ensure the truth is exposed." This story serves as a powerful reminder of courage and the strength of truth. If you were in Barron's shoes, would you continue fighting or stop in the face of threats? Have you ever had to choose between personal safety and standing up for what's right? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your voice could inspire and encourage others to act for justice. If you found this story meaningful, share it with friends and family to help spread the message of fairness and accountability. Thank you for supporting the channel. Please like, share, and subscribe to receive the latest updates. The stories are collected from various sources and do not represent any individual or organization. They are shared with the intention of spreading human values in life and have been rewritten with the support of AI. If there are any mistakes, kindly overlook them with understanding. Wishing you all the best in life.